Ain't that just always how it is on Dark Souls 2? There's something special about Majula as far as hubs go in these games. I think it's just how bright it is. Like, look, even when you're in this transitory place between Majula and things betwixt, you can already see sunlight coming in from above. Contrast it to the Firelink shrines of Dark Souls 1 and 3, and there's really nothing like it in any of these games, I think. Just this big, open, kind of beautiful, sunlit area. And the sun's always either rising or setting. It's hard to tell exactly which. What I think just really what sells it is just how big it is. Like, it's a small area, really, but, like, look at this. It just makes it look so expansive, yet somehow cozy. Like, Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls 1 is a small area that's kind of cramped, and also there's dangerous areas jutting right off it, so you never quite feel safe. It's a little cramped, and, you're just a little too close to the danger. Majula, on the other hand, is big, wide, bright, but also you never feel like you're in any sort of, like, danger here. This is definitely a safe zone. And the music really sells it. I love just the outlook of the water there with the sunlight and the little crags coming out of it. Also, you can see like the big pillar kind of catching some of the sunlight, making a little bit of shade there with the god rays. This is just sort of a really beautiful area, maybe one of the best in all the Souls games. Certainly my favorite hub. And you can hear now the little music notes come on in. Just look at this. Tell me this isn't beautiful. Even as it's kind of falling apart and crumbling, you do get the vibe that this is just a very relaxing area. I'd want to come on vacation here. This is the sort of place you want to make sort of an edit about, right? I wonder what this lorem ipsum is. I know in like Bloodborne, some of the tombstones apparently had like Polish on them or something. I'm curious if there's anything like that going on with some of the text in this game. I think Majula is a lot like Firelink Shrine in the sense that it's a very decayed place, but it has more signs of being lived in, like these little tents and tarps that people have set up. Even though it's fallen apart, like you get the idea that there's been like layers of people who've lived here and kind of built on top of each other. There's the original town, then there's some campsites and little huts people have set up. Just gives the vibe of a place that has some history behind it, especially with that big monument in the background. And you get a sense that this was a real place people lived, and that now, you get to make your life here now, along with all your little NPC friends. There's something really cute about that. Another cool thing, and this is actually true of, I believe, Firelink Shrine and Dark Souls 1 also, is that you can see some late-game areas in the distance. I believe that's Iron Keep over there with the big bowl, and I believe that spire is part of Drangleic Castle. You also can just sort of see like parts of Shaded Woods and the like. It gives you a sense that this was once a part of a bigger area, and it's contracted because there's just not enough people to really live in any of the areas around it. But it shows you kind of a beautiful side to this miserable world, and gives you the idea there might be something worth protecting. I had a friend once who said that just any area is made immediately more livable by the sound of running water, whether that's like being on the coast or just having like a river running through. Majula really proves that point.
Cheers for that.
Sorry, I got distracted. I was shopping from a ghost. I like looking at the distance sometimes in these areas, whether it's the skybox or these sort of incidental details off in the distance. I love these just ruins jutting out of the water. No idea what these are, or how they would have ever built anything over there. You can see these like big stone crags coming out of the water. But it just gives you a big sense of intrigue. Like, what could that have possibly been? I know Firelink from Dark Souls 1 has some stuff like that, where you can see some like additional parts of the Undead Burg off in the distance. And you can see right here these aqueducts. and kind of these little cylindrical, almost Colosseum-looking buildings. Just places that you kind of wish you could explore more. That's what I really think is basically the strength of all these games. It's kind of like the feeling that you're an archaeologist of sorts, and that you're kind of piecing together what life must have been like in these areas before this big disaster kind of destroyed these civilizations completely. Good job, player base. Overall, I don't know if there's a whole lot to say about Majula. If just because, I don't know, it does its job perfectly, really well. It provides sort of a safe place for the player to lay their head down and also kind of give some intrigue into the world at large. Like, look at this room right here with the big book. Doesn't this just sort of make you wonder what else could be in this world? Like, who's reading this? I don't know, I think this is like a perfect area in a video game, personally. Even if the books do also do the repeating texture shit that annoys me in this game. Majula just has to be a 10 out of 10. I don't know what else it could be. Like, there's some areas in this game that they definitely did half-ass visually, but Majula isn't one of them. They knew exactly what they needed this place to be. I aggroed the pigs beneath the building, and they're making noises that are ruining the ambiance. This is a great area for playing archaeologist in this game. Sort of this hidden little basement beneath the mansion in Majula. I loved the fallen rocks and sort of the wooden struts and beams hanging up here. This really gives a sense that, you know, Majula was built on top of something else, which is really kind of the theme behind the whole game, because, you know, you get a big sense that Drang Lake was built on the ruins of another civilization, which itself was built on the ruins of something even bigger before it. Ignore that message. And, you know, they kind of, like, really bring that home here with the little garbage on the ground here. Because, if you look closely, you can see this is the Lord Vessel from Dark Souls 1. And maybe that's a coincidence. You know, maybe it was just sort of, they just needed some textures here to make some garbage. But that doesn't really fit the vibe of how FromSoft makes their games for me. I definitely think this is intentional. I do not think Drang Lake is actually built on the ruins of Lord Dran proper. But, whoa, hey... Yo, what's up, skeleton? Yo!